Eastern African countries have increased investment in infrastructure projects in the past 5 years, with Tanzania leading in terms of the value and number of projects that broke ground by June last year. The government is implementing the National 5-Year Development Plan, which aims at nurturing industrialization for economic transformation and human development. In 2022, Tanzania's GDP surged to 4.6%, marking a significant economic upswing. Projections for 2023 anticipate further growth, reaching 5.1%. This positive trajectory is attributed to the strategic implementation of structural reforms aimed at bolstering the nation's economic competitiveness. These reforms not only enhance the business and investment landscape, but also streamline regulatory processes, reducing compliance costs. Amid this economic transformation, mega construction projects play a pivotal role. The ambitious initiatives contribute to Tanzania's growth by fostering infrastructural development, creating job opportunities, and attracting investments. As a result, the economy is poised to realize its long-run potential, with a projected growth of about 6% by 2025. Without wasting time, we will look at the 10 most important mega construction projects in Tanzania. 10. Bamoo Port. Through a collaboration between Tanzania, China, and Oman, the ambitious Bamoo Port is now being developed in Tanzania, along with 190 industries built throughout a 1,700-hectare special economic zone adjacent to the port. At a cost of $11 billion, this mega infrastructure project is designed to become Africa's largest port. The port should be able to handle 20 million containers annually once it's fully completed by 2045. The project will position Tanzania into a regional economic powerhouse. The port project is intended to be a significant deepwater seaport in East Africa, serving as a gateway for international trade and fostering economic growth in the region. The port is strategically located along the eastern coast of Africa, providing access to landlocked countries such as Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, and the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. 9. East African Crude Oil Pipeline. The East African Crude Oil Pipeline, EACOP, also known as the Uganda-Tanzania Crude Oil Pipeline, UTCOP, is a 24-diameter pipeline that is under construction between Uganda and Tanzania. The pipeline, with a planned capacity of 216,000 barrels of crude oil per day, starts in Buseruka sub-county, Hoima district, in Uganda's western region, and in a general southeasterly direction to pass through Rakai district in Uganda, Bukoba in Tanzania, loop around the southern shores of Lake Victoria, continue through Shinyanga and Singida to end in Tanga, a distance of approximately 1,410 kilometers. The total cost of the project was reportedly $5 billion as of August 2021. Of the total, $2 billion will be raised by the owners of the pipeline, who include TotalEnergies, China National Offshore Oil Corporation, Uganda National Pipeline Company, and Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation, as equity investment. The remaining $3 billion will be borrowed from external sources. The EACOP project has undergone several delays and negotiations since its inception. It received final investment approval in April 2021, and construction is expected to begin in the near future. The estimated timeline for completion and commencement of operations is around 2025. Once completed, the East African Crude Oil Pipeline will be the longest heated crude oil pipeline in the world. 8. Tanzania SGR Project. Tanzania will become the third country in East Africa to start enjoying modern railway services after Kenya and Ethiopia. Kenya was the first country in the region to start the construction of an SGR line, completing over 500 kilometers between Mombasa and Nairobi, and also inaugurating its passenger services in June 2017. The government is constructing a new electric railway line using domestic resources from Dar es Salaam, Morogoro, Dodoma, about 700 km. The whole projects cover a distance of about 2,707 km, with 3 branches from Dar es Salaam, Tabora, Kigoma, 1,000 251 kilometers, Tabora, Mwanza, 379 kilometers, and Kaliua, Mpanda, 210 kilometers. The project is expected to improve transportation of cargo and passengers in the Central Corridor. It is expected to reduce time and freight for cargo destined to neighboring countries like Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, and DRC. 7. Dar es Salaam Maritime Gateway Project. The government is implementing a project to expand 7 berths depth from the current 8 meters to 15 meters. The expansion will allow the port to receive larger vessels able to carry up to 19,000 containers. The project will be completed by end of 2020, enabling the Tanzania Port Authority (TPA) to increase the container through output to 28 million tons a year, from around 20 million containers currently. The port will be able to handle ships with more than 304 meters from the current 204 meters. 6. New Lome LNG Liquefied Natural Gas Plant. The LNG project, worth $30 billion, has become the most valuable project in the region. Once completed, the LNG plant is expected to contribute about 7% towards the country's economic growth. Tanzania Liquefied Natural Gas Project, also Lome LNG Liquefied Natural Gas Project, is a gas processing plant planned natural liquefaction in Tanzania. The factory will be located on an area of about 2,071.705 hectares in Lome village in the Indian Ocean coastal town of Lindi, about 461 kilometers south of Dar es Salaam. It is about 103 kilometers by road northwest of Mtwara, the nearest major town. Tanzania has proven natural gas reserves of 57 trillion cubic feet, including at least 49.5 trillion cubic feet offshore in the Indian Ocean. The government of Tanzania, through the Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation, in partnership with BG Group, Equinor, ExxonMobil, and Ofi Energy, plans to build an onshore liquefied natural gas export terminal at the Lindi site. In May 2019, the East African newspaper reported that construction was expected to begin in 2022 and be completed in 2028, as announced by Tanzanian Energy Minister Medard Kalemani. In June 2022, the Tanzanian government signed an agreement with Equinor of Norway and British Shell, restarting discussions and negotiations to advance the project. Final investment decision, FID, of this project, whose development cost is projected at $30 billion, is now expected in 2025. 5. New International Airport in Dodoma. The project is part of a program to expand the East African nation's infrastructure. It will be built in Misalato, 12 kilometers from Dodoma. It will include a passenger terminal, runway, and related infrastructure. The new airport project, which will take approximately 4 years for construction, will have a capacity to handle 1 million passengers annually and will have a runway of just over 2 kilometers in length. The funding package for the project comprises a US $198.6 million loan from the AfDB, US $23.52 million from the African Development Fund, and US $50 million in co-financing from China's Africa Growing Together Fund, which the AfDB manages. 4. Tanzania Burundi Standard Gauge Railway Project. This is a planned 282 kilometers long SGR line that will stretch from the western Tanzanian town of Uvinza to the Burundian political capital of Gitega, formerly known as Kitega. According to an agreement signed back in 2020 for the implementation of the project by the governments of Tanzania and Burundi, the former will construct a 156-kilometer section of the railway line from the small town of Malagarasi to Uvinza, while the latter will construct a 126-kilometer stretch from Uvinza to Gitega. Designed to reduce transportation costs, fast-track industrialization, and improve the overall regional economy upon completion, the Tanzania-Burundi SGR line will ferry more than 1 million tons of cargo between the two East African countries and help transport more than 3 million tons of minerals from Burundi to Tanzania each year. 3. Kakono Hydropower Project. The Kakono Hydropower Project, HPP, with a proposed capacity of 87.8 megawatts, is an important initiative in the energy sector aimed at driving economic growth and creating an inclusive and competitive economy. The implementation of the Kongo HPP involves the construction of two main structures: a concrete-faced rockfill dam, measuring approximately 42 meters in height and 1,380 meters in length, and a gravity roller compacted concrete dam, with a height of about 61 meters and a length of 284 meters. The project will harness the hydropower potential through an outdoor powerhouse located at the base of the dam.
2. Rusumo Hydroelectric Power Plant. Rusumo Hydroelectric Power Plant, also known as Rusumo Power Plant, is a hydroelectric power plant under construction with an initial output of 80 megawatts when completed. The project involves the construction of a river design dam. A more expensive 90-megawatt reservoir design was considered but rejected in favor of an 80-megawatt project with a lower environmental impact and an estimated cost of $300 million. The project was abandoned compared to $400 million. On August 6, 2013, the World Bank announced that it had approved a total loan of $340 million for the $468.6 million needed for the project. In November 2013, the African Development Bank approved him a $113 million loan to complete the project. The power plant is located along the Kagera River along the Rwanda-Tanzania border, about 2 kilometers downstream of the tri-border area where the two countries share a border with Burundi. The project is located at Rusumo Falls, near the town of Rusumo, approximately 164.5 kilometers by road, southeast of Kigali, Rwanda's capital and largest city. As of April 2021, completion was anticipated in 2022, with one of the 3 power-generating units expected online in the fourth quarter of 2021. As of June 2021, with 80% of the work completed, commercial commissioning was anticipated in December 2021. During the second half of 2021, the Auditor Generals of the 3 impacted countries conducted audits that showed a 22% rise in expenditure over budget up to that point in the work plan. The projected percentage of work completed at the time was 81%. 95% of the work was completed as of August 2022. November 2022 is the projected completion date, and December 2022 is the projected commercial commissioning. Commercial communication was rescheduled for the first quarter of 2023 later that month.
1. Tanzania's Kongo Bui Bridge on Lake Victoria. Kongo Bui Bridge, also known as Mwanza Bay Bridge, is a bridge under construction in Tanzania. When completed as planned in 2024, it will stretch 3.2 kilometers across Mwanza Bay, connecting the areas of Kongo in the Mwanza region and Busisi in the Jita region, thereby reducing crossing times from 35 minutes by ferry to 4 minutes left by car. It will be the longest bridge in East Africa and the 6th longest bridge on the African continent. The bridge is part of the T4 Tanzania National Highway. As part of this road infrastructure project, a 35 kilometers paved road will be built to connect the eastern end of the bridge with the town of Mwanza. Before the construction of this bridge, there was no road connecting Kongo and Busisi. The ferry is the only means of connection between the two sides. The ferry takes 35 minutes to cover the distance, but preparing in advance, boarding, traveling, and disembarking can take up to 3 hours. An average of 1,600 cars cross Mwanza Bay by ferry every 24 hours. When construction commenced in December 2019, the contract price was TH 699 billion, fully funded by the Tanzanian government, with initial completion scheduled for 2023. As of July 2021, work progress is 27%. At that time, the contract price was $308.88 million USD. The newly announced completion date is 2024. Do you think these projects will help Tanzania achieve a growth rate of 6% by 2025? Kindly share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Also, are there any more projects you think we left out? The best comment will be pinned.